Hi everyone, I'm Adina again, as I'm sure you know, and this time I'm broadcasting from my business, Just Be. And this is because I do things obviously in the name of my business, but it's still the same, it's still me. It's just a different channel of broadcasting, that's all. Right, so today I'm going to talk to you about friends and how to differentiate a friend from an acquaintance or from someone that actually doesn't want to be a friend. It's just a person passing by the street. Um, so I'm gonna obviously talk about my own experience, and in my experience growing up, I think you could describe it my friendship with people like a bus. Many people came on and many people came off. But actually at any one point I don't think in my life I had more than 3 friends. And that starts from kindergarten up to and including finishing university here in England. And then I got a job and I moved on from London down here where I am near Guildford in order to be with my partner at the time. And I went from having 2 friends to having no friends because I have moved areas so drastically. But then when I started my job at the bank, I did make a friend, which I still have her now. And it's not about the numbers that you have in your life. It's not about the quantity, but it's about the quality that you have in your life. So, in order to know a true friend, you really have to know yourself. You have to know your values, your morals. Where do you start and where do you begin? This is because obviously when you have a friend, it's one of the things that you mostly do is talk. So, when you talk about even a movie, or you might end up talking about things and situations that are happening in the world at the moment. It's like, what do you think? What do you feel? What is your opinion on the situation or on the conversation that you are having with your friend? So it is important to actually um, have the same values and the same morals. And in order to have the same opinions and values, you need to know yourself and what do you believe in and what do you think. So I say this because for a very long time I didn't know myself very well. And I can still say that even now I am discovering myself and I am still finding out things about me because there are new situations that are coming in my life all the time and I'm finding out how I feel about them. So um, I am changing. I'm not the same person that I was 5 years ago, and I'm not the same person that I was last year. But what has changed is actually my friends' quantity and quality. Because ever since I started my self-development um, journey, I really have started to know myself better and know what it means to be a true friend, to really be there for someone and allow them to express their true opinion regardless of what that is, and just be there and listen and hold the space, or just acknowledge and say, you know what, mate, I empathize with you. I know what it feels like to be in the dump. I was there in the dump a few minutes ago, or last year, last month, last week, and I'm here for you to listen to you. It doesn't necessarily mean to hurry up on your horse and gallop and save them, but just a true friend. So yeah, having a friendship with someone is a type of relationship. It's obviously not a romantic relationship, but it is a type of relationship. So because it is a type of relationship, sometimes it requires you to do work on that relationship. So for example, recently, um, my mentor and my tutor, Penny Quell Pierce, she asked me to be a friend. And I'm going to elaborate a bit more on that and how it happened. So, growing in Romania, where um, um, the way that I was brought up is obviously to respect authority and to respect those that are in charge and to respect the teachers and the people that know more than you. And indeed, you should. If you were to talk to a doctor, he would know more in his field than you would know, regardless of how much you read on Google or on Wikipedia or wherever else. Um, so yeah, so because of that, I had tremendous amount of respect for Penny. And also in my university, I've learned that knowledge is power. And you don't have to go to university in order to know this and realize this. But it made such an impact, and it's so true in today's society. They actually made its way into university curriculum, that knowledge is power. So I was looking at Penny, I was like, oh my god, this person is so knowledgeable. I mean, she had 23 years experience in doing breath work and many other years prior to that in doing her own work and her own development. So she was living and breathing and actually using these tools that she was teaching day in and day out. And I was just looking at her and I was in awe of the sort of dedication and commitment that she was and she was having. So because of that and because of my total admiration for knowledge, I was so attracted to the knowledge and the way in which she was sharing that knowledge as well, in a real authentic way. And she wasn't using it at all to manipulate, but only to help people. I put her on a pedestal, and she was like, Penny is so important, and everything that she does is the way that is meant to be. Obviously, it had nothing to do with her. It was just my own stuff and my own things that I was seeing the world through the filters that I was brought up with. And those were the filters that I was brought up with. That's what I'm trying to say. So, of course, she didn't want that. She didn't want me to put her on a pedestal. She is just, well, she sees herself as just a person. But in the end, we did become true friends. So I'm going to elaborate a bit more on that. So because of this way that I was looking at her, she did say to me, you'd be really good if we'd become friends, that you'd cross the divide and just become friends. And in order for me to do that, or for us to do that, I had to remove that pedestal. Again, it had nothing to do with her and the way that she is, but it was to do with my upbringing and the way that I was worshipping authority and knowledge and that sort of authority, if it makes sense. So so she said, well, it would be really good if we'd be friends. So then I just had to do the inner work to remove that pedestal, not only from her, but from any other authority figure or any other person that would have the same impact or would represent the same sort of authority or knowledge. So yeah, that was my example to say that even friendship relationship, they do require work as well. And I'm sure that if you were to think a few moments on the sort of thing that you are experiencing, then you would be able to find similar examples as well of examples when you had to communicate something with a friend, either something pleasant or unpleasant, and sometimes this resulted in the detriment of the relationship, but sometimes this resulted also in having a stronger, more real friendship and relationship. So yeah, that is friendship. So a friend, is really someone that you can talk to regardless of the opinions that you have, regardless of how you feel about something. And this is really something that I've learned in my 3 or 4 years that I've had in the self-development track and in the self-development area. And I have made real, true friends since I have joined this Acorn to Walk group and community. It really is a community because, it's not all roses and peaches, and it's not all rainbows. Sometimes we can have a hard day. Sometimes one of us will just be in the swamp, as we call it, and you can't see the wood for the trees. Then you reach out to someone, and then you might feel like screaming and shouting, and you're angry or whatever the situation is, but you know that you can talk to someone who is there 100% for you, and they don't have any agenda behind listening, or they're not jumping in, they're not waiting for a pause in the conversation to jump in and just tell them what their opinion is. It is like a buffalo herd. The buffalo, they put the strong on the outside, and the young and the elderly, i.e. the weaker ones, on the inside, and they head the storm because they know that going through the storm is the quickest way to make it out on the other side. Not going around it, that is actually will take longer and you will be more agony. But going through the storm and herding it together, that is going to make the journey quicker, and in the end they will become out stronger on the other side because they've had an experience together. And this is really and truly the experience that I'm having at the moment, and it is amazing to know that I can count on someone to such a degree and to such an extent. And I'm not saying that the only place you're gonna find this is in your self-development world, but just look around you. Who is your true friend and who isn't? And don't get me wrong, sometimes you're gonna have people around you, like colleagues at work, co-workers, that you need to have a good relationship with, because it is easier to have a good relationship with them than not to. That I think that process is called keeping them sweet. That is probably an activity that you might do with your manager. Maybe you would laugh at one of their jokes, or maybe you would just entertain them with a few questions about how their weekend was. And I'm not saying that work is like that, I'm just giving an example. But do it consciously, and do it knowing what you're doing, and just know that it is okay for you to keep them sweet, but actually they're just co-workers. and just be aware of that, and that's perfectly fine. And equally be aware of the people that actually you don't really gel with at all. So, I was saying earlier that up to until 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't have more than 3 friends at any one time in my life. And I did feel lonely, and I did feel like I was wanting someone to really be there for me and for me to be there for them. Like they keep talking about this BFF and best friends, and what does it really look like? I had no idea. I hadn't met that in my life. So, you know, when I was at work, as I'm sure you can empathize, when you're at the beginning of meeting someone, you're more cautious, and that's even in a true boyfriend and girlfriend relationship, or husband and wife. It's like you're on your best behavior and you don't say anything inappropriate, but then after a few years or after a few months, you can let your guard down and make a few jokes and have a laugh and things like that. And it was 2 years later that a colleague of mine, which at the time I was considering her my friend, or at least for a few minutes, I considered her my friend. We're just having a laugh and a joke about the way that I was. When I was at work, my motto was, I'm here to work, I'm not here to make friends. And I stepped on some toes, but the managers loved me, and I loved that they loved me, because obviously I was good at my job. But the people that were like my level, or maybe newer, or maybe below my level, I don't think they were that fond of me, because I was just there about work, 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 and stop talking about your personal life. I'm not interested. And yeah, so I was talking to this friend, and we were laughing, and she was saying that, yeah, it took me 2 years to be able to relate to you. Can you imagine taking someone 2 years to be able to relate to me? I mean, who on earth would actually go through all that trouble? Can you think of anyone in your life who would be willing to go through all that trouble? Would any relationship last if one of the parties would not be able to relate to the other one for 2 years at the beginning of the relationship? Later on, leave alone later on. I mean, yeah, maybe later on you'd have some history, so you put in the effort. But at the beginning of the relationship, if you're not, willing to or open up to the other party, and I wasn't willing to open up to my colleagues. My answers were always sharp and short. How are you? Fine. How was your weekend? Fine. So yeah, that was me. But then slowly, I began to open up and to be able to relate better to people. And it's because I became a different person. I became more human. I really did. So, it's like melting the ice. I became more human, warmer with people. Um, and that feeling of loneliness obviously melted away. One, because I had true friends with me in my life that even if I didn't talk to every day, I knew that they were there for me. And if I needed anything or to talk to, they would be there to support me. But more importantly than that, because I had someone outside of my husband. So I met my husband almost 7 years ago. And as I said earlier, I moved down here from London for him, and I made one friend, and that was pretty much it. And for many years, I wanted to have someone else outside of my boyfriend at the time to talk to. It's because Richard was great, and he was so supportive, and he still is, and he is kind and trustworthy and all those qualities that you would like to have in a partner and in a real relationship. But I wanted someone to talk to about Richard. I wanted someone to tell them how awesome Richard is, or to tell them of all the times when Richard annoyed me, or just to tell them about any other thing that I felt that I wanted to discuss not with my boyfriend, which is also perfectly fine. So yeah, I did feel lonely and I did feel isolated, but it's because I was isolated myself. Again, I was doing things and saying things because I thought that that's how things should be said and done. Sorry. That's how things should be said and done. And yeah, so I thought that I should act in a certain way, and actually it was best for me to be real, to be myself, and I didn't know how to do that. So, what's the whole point of doing this? I'm sure you have many relationships, either with friends or with an actual partner in your life, or with family as well, and just sit and analyze them. And do you need all those people in your life, or all the people in your life? Are they helpful to you? Are they uh, true friends to you? And again, if they fall in the category of keeping them sweet and keeping them entertained, that's perfectly fine. Just recognize that and know that's where you are with those people, because you will have that. But also, if you feel that you are doing things and saying things just to be able to find friends, because actually in those years when I was feeling lonely, I was doing that. I was having conversations with people, as I said earlier, just for the sake of having conversations. And I was um, saying things and agreeing with them when actually deep down I knew that I wasn't agreeing with them. So um, are you compromising your morals and your values when you are not believing in what you're saying and in what you're doing because you are feeling lonely? Because if you're doing that, and I can tell you from personal experience, it will never work, because that's not how you are deep down inside. And you might feel entertained for a few minutes. Oh, I met with such and such, and we had such a good laugh, and we had a drink, and it was all great and perfect. But they're not a true friend, because you have agreed with something that you don't truly believe in down. So they don't actually know you, because they don't know what you actually believe in that conversation. They might have told you the truth, and they might have told you um, what they really believe, but unless you've actually expressed your opinion, for whatever reason, either for fear of them rejecting you, because that was my motive, or being liked, which was also my motive. They kind of merge, or they have semi-permeable boundaries. Um, yeah, then they don't really know you, and you're not gonna make real friends like that, because yeah, they don't know who you really are. And if you feel that you can't be truthful with someone, then again, you're not gonna get very far, because it's not who you truly are underneath it all. So, if you need help in finding out who you are, again, I'm talking from my own experience, because I didn't know where I ended and where I began. what my values were. I didn't know what my opinion were on certain things. And that's perfectly okay if that is the case, but I didn't know what I wanted in many instances and in many occasions. I didn't know who I was because I was so closed up and so guarded, and just my protection, my walls of protections were high. Nobody could get through. And I did that to protect myself and to protect my heart. And but you need to learn how to be authentic and real, and let your guard down and know that true friends will not hurt you. And if they aren't true friends, and if they are hurting you, then it's not worth it having them in your life. You are better without people that will hurt you, obviously. So if you do need help in finding yourself, breath for life. I always bring it back, breath for life. Breath for life, breath work did help me tremendously to find out who I really am. And I do honestly recommend it. On Wednesday, the 22nd of August, which is Wednesday this week, I have still some availability and some spaces for you to try out um, breathwork for half the price, so a full session for half the price. And this is the last low day clinic that I have. And this is the last low day clinic that I'm running. So if it's been on your mind that you wanted to try it, this is the time, because there's not going to be any more low cost clinics after this. Um, you will be revised, obviously, and we will see what happens in regards to the price of it. Um, so just to recap, just look at the relationships in your life, and are they real friends, or are they people that you could do with distancing yourself from? And you don't have to admit this to anyone, just to yourself. And if those people are not meant to be in your life, they will slowly fade away. But let them fade away and let them go. Because if you are acknowledging these things to yourself, things will move and things will shift and energy will shift, because you are aware of where you stand and where you sit. And the universe will help you to make those changes. Well, I thank you all for listening and for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please follow Just Be. I will post more videos and more useful and tips on how to do life, or how to know yourself better. Thank you all. Bye bye.